give it just a few minutes to see. I'm ready. I'm just waiting on some people to get in here so we can get going. 4:10, probably about 10 minutes. Now let's see. You guys, if I make some weird, strange faces, like it is me, because Lord, I'm telling y'all, I kid you not, my back be really bothering me sitting up. But we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it through this because I really want to share my experience via the World Wide Web. And I'm just gonna be doing some work over here on this computer. Yeah, because okay, yo, we got a few people in. I was gonna start in about 2 more minutes. Give people time. Hello, hello. You guys, everything tried to keep me from going live. Hi, you guys. So we got a few people in here. We can go on and get started, and we can jump right on in. So my name is, for those of you who don't know, my name is Shanta, and I wanted to come on today to share my experience because it's just so well needed, right? Grab the camera. What's that? What you mean grab the camera? Can you not see me? What? What's grab the camera? I don't know. Am I doing something wrong, you guys? Anyway, y'all let me know in the comments if I am. But yeah, trying to read the text. I probably shouldn't. But yeah, so I want to share my experience with having this work injury. If you guys have been following me, you know that I got injured. Just to give a little backstory, I got injured on my job a few years back, several years back, and it has been a journey to say the least. Dealing with workers' comp, dealing with the insurance company, and then after so long years, right, of dealing with applying for Social Security, disability benefits, and going through that process of all that, which is a very egregious process, very egregious process. But I hung in there, and so the reason why I'm coming forth with this because I finally got my my ruling, my judgment back, right? From I took my case. You know, if you file your Social Security, you'll get denied pretty much the first time. Then you go up for reconsideration. I got denied at the reconsideration, and then you go for a ALJ judge before a ALJ, administrative law judge. And so I got to that point, and he denied me. And when I got my paperwork back, right, his decision back within a few weeks, as I was going through it, I noticed a whole lot of inconsistencies and lies, like lies. I don't know how else to say it. You know what I'm saying? My goal is not to uh, point anybody out, but this situation has literally changed my life. It has took everything from me, right? I lost everything. I'm not too much focused on that part of it at this point, because you can't get the days back, but you could help share your story to help somebody. So that's what I did. So after that point, I appealed it, because you have to appeal it. I appealed his decision before the appeals council, right? And they denied me, right? They wouldn't even see my case. I wrote out a detailed reason as to why I thought that the decision was incorrect or inaccurate. Of course, they denied me. So the next step, if you want to continue to go further, is to file a civil lawsuit in the federal courts, right? So I did that part. Um, I didn't know what that part was about. I didn't understand how it went, but I figured it out, right? So I filed my own case in federal court and did all that. But the courts are so backed up that everything takes a long process, right? A long process. And so last year, it took a year and a half for the federal judge to even make a decision. And so anyway, we're gonna fast forward to the judgment, right? Because this is the important part, right? Well, when I filed my case in federal court, right, I had to write out a brief. Yeah, again, you guys, I acted as my own lawyer. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know anything about. So I filed my own brief, and I roll out like 20 pages. Yeah, yeah, it's supposed to be short, but again, I didn't know at that time. But I went through his whole decision, the ALJ's decision, and started discounting, because that's the only way I knew how. So the federal court got my case, right, and so yeah, so it took a year for them to even get that case going. So here we are, a year, actually 3 years from that ALJ decision. Hey, and I finally got my judgment, you guys. And guess what? Guess what? Guess what? This is not like a boosting, like being boastful, but I am very excited because, again, this has taken everything from me. You know what I'm saying? Everything. When I say everything, and I've never been the type of person who didn't work. That was my whole thing with the whole thing. Like, I literally went to work helping somebody to help my residents, and I got injured on the job. And to be thrown away like trash, like, I'm literally serious. This is how I got treated. Was that just hurt my heart, hurt my soul, So, but I kept on fighting, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I got my judgment, and the judgment was a complete reversal, a overturn of the ALJ's decision, right? And I don't even think I have still wrapped my head around it, because although it is a good judgment, it's a very great judgment. Only 1 to 3% of people get a judgment like that. 1 to 3% of cases that go through the federal courts get a a judgment like that. And so, but here's why. Here's why I got that decision, right? Because as I said, when I got his judgment, right, the uh, ALJ's judgment, right, and I started going through, um, and then I got my files, right. This was a very important part. I got all my paperwork, like all my paperwork. I did have a lawyer helping me up until the point of the ALJ, but after the ALJ decision, the lawyer kind of backed off. She didn't help me with the federal part, but I did have a lawyer up to the ALJ. So once he made his decision, she was taken back as well, with the whole thing, because my paperwork is very, to the point. I mean, everything, we have everything on file, you know what I'm saying, from the time. And you have to remember, these are not doctors that I chose. These are doctors that was chosen by the workers' comp and that treated me. And I really want to thank my doctors, because they did a very great job. Like, I really think they wasn't biased or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? Although it did take us a while to get the diagnosis, but yeah. And so when I was going through my paperwork, right? I went through my paperwork, and it was one piece of paper in there, right? One piece of paper that it was from my doctors. It was RFC, which is functional capacity, something like that, or residual functional capacity test, something like that. RFC, that's what it's called. It was a paper in there in my file and I have, I wanted to go over my like judgment and everything just to have it, you know what I'm saying? Because I wanted to read over it, but I don't know if I'm gonna do it in this video. But yeah, I can show this part, you know what I'm saying, and I did kind of white out some things, yeah, for the thing, but yeah, this is the judgment, right? And so, even in the federal judgment, right, she really scrutinized the ALJ, right? Because it was a piece of paper, the RFC, RCF, whatever it's called, functional capacity test, right? Somebody at the ALJ office, right, took my paper, right? Took the paper and blew it up and whited out, like literally whited out the whole part that my doctor said, and then added what they wanted, right? And then, which is what was able to help make them, or let them make their decision, right, to fit the narrative, right? Because it would have held up on appeal and all this, because it says the record at all times. The complete record was taken into account and all this. And like I said, with that paper in there and the other paper taken out, it looked like that paper was very valid, but it wasn't. It was doctored. Like, this is the part I'm like, I just can't, it was doctored. Somebody falsified my documents at that office to fit the narrative, right? So when I took it to the federal court level, I made it very clear as to, I found a mistake, as to going through my, each one of my papers, piece by piece by piece by piece by piece. And it was like 1,150 pages, right? Of medical work, right? That I had to go through to figure out, how did he come up with the decision. And so I say all that to say, but so when I get the federal court ruling, right, and I see that it was completely reversed and overturned, and then that she, that not my lawyer, I'm sorry, that the federal judge, in the decision, made it very clear that she was dissatisfied with what had just taken place, right? But you have to know that these judges, right, they're under immunity, right? So you cannot sue them for a civil, or whatever, if they're acting within their capacity. You know what I'm saying? So, but I don't know, cause I got some other, I was wondering about some other things that criminally you can is what I've been told, but yeah, like this, the judge literally clearly falsified my documents. You know what I'm saying? And I'm knowing that I'm not the only one that this happened to, right? And like I said, it really changed my life. A lot of people don't go that extra mile to know their own situation and their own case, you know what I'm saying? However, again, with me, I was just taken back because we had everything in order. So the condition I have is called Batory-Lighty syndrome. It's a back, it's where the L5S1 is fused together. And so the injury that caused that to be aggravated was a herniated bulging disc, right? So I still deal with the herniated bulging disc right to this day. I have radiculopathy all down my leg, sitting, standing, doing anything for long periods, right? That was another key point in my situation. You know what I'm saying? I was very clear. I was very honest the whole time. My story has been the same. I have never said that I cannot do nothing. I can start doing something, but I can't finish. It takes so long to do one task, right? So long because the radiculopathy, and then like I can't feel my leg. You know what I'm saying? My right leg, and so but yeah, I did want to share my story because, again, I know or I feel as if, I don't know for 100% true fact, you know what I'm saying, but I can almost imagine that this is not the first time that this has happened, right? And so, again, it changes people's lives, and I don't think people understand from that aspect, right? Um, I didn't get the support that I needed. You know what I'm saying? And we can go there because I wanted to, speak about it. A lot of people discredit me, right? Not my doctors now, but a lot of people discredit me because of how I quote unquote look. So disability is not on a look, you know, and that's where that judge was trying to go to. You know what I'm saying? Although, well, I'm not gonna say he went there because my hearing with him was not, it wasn't visual, it was phone. So I'm not gonna say that as far as him. That would just be because we never saw each other. We spoke over the phone. The hearing was over the phone. But as far as other people, like people look at me and think that I'm okay, you know what I'm saying? Because I act like right. I had to learn to use what language is, how to use language. Act, right? To act like I'm okay. Acting is being something that you're not. You see what I'm saying? Am I making sense with that? Like I can act like it, and I can be if I'm just somewhere just a non-style. I can but I hadn't ran. I can't even stand up on my toes. There's a lot of things that I can't do, even to this day, and it's been years. And so, yeah. So, um, when I say that I was prejudiced against, even in the federal court ruling, that's exactly what the decision was. And I also want to say that when you take your when you take your case to a federal court, right? The federal judge do not reweigh the evidence, right? They're only able to make a decision as to was proper law applied and coming up with that residual functional capacity. That's what that RFC means, residual functional capacity, right? But they are only able, it just came to my head, but they are only able to make a decision as to what is already on the record. You can't introduce no new evidence. They are only able to make a decision, right, um, off of what is on the record, and to really add if the ALJ used proper law, you know. If they use proper law, it gets affirmed, right? And if they left out something or didn't consider something, right, then you get a remand, right? And so, and you have the cases, it's very slim. I've spoken to several lawyers about this. You have a very few rare cases that get total overturn, you know. And that's if legal law or judicial conduct is, you know. And again, I had to make it very clear and very known that this is what it was. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't leave it up to the judge to figure it out. I made it very clear. Why is this here? But this is not the original document. Where did this come from? You know, this is the original document, right? And then they even had the original document, right? They even had the original document, and chose not to use it. But what made it really so suspicious, right, was that the doctored paper was the was used in his decision making process. So the falsified paper, the doctored paper, was the one that they used in the decision making process, not the original document that should have been used there, that was in the file, you know, that was in the file. And so, you know, again, I don't know how to, you know, feel about it, but I do want to get conversations started about like disability and what it looks like, because again, people thought, people made me feel, right, I can only speak from my own experience, but people made me feel like if I wasn't crippled or in a wheelchair, or, you know, I have what they call an invisible disability, right? And I say that because you can't see it, you know. I don't have a cast on my back, or so it's what you would call an invisible, but it affects me every day of my life. I really need a surgery, right? And my doctors have made it very clear. On the other hand, right, I'm dealing with workers' comp, right? And they are the worst people. That was another thing, right? So, workers' comp, right, for all the way up until this point, but for 3 years, first 3 years, their documents are very clear, right? But after so long, workman's comp, right, tried to kind of forget about you, right? So when after so many weeks of workers comp, if you're not, they supposed to be able to put you back to work. Again, I never never again thought that I would be off of work this long, right? I didn't even realize how that was my passion. Like, that was what kept me going. I worked in a nursing home with geriatric patients since I was 18, you know, since I was 18. And I actually worked 18 years. Yeah, when I came out the field, I worked 18. It was my 18th year. I lost all my credentials, right, because I couldn't meet the requirements to my license. I couldn't meet the requirements of that license, and all that. And so that was a bummer, you know, to work so hard. My goal was to, trying to get comfortable, yeah. My goal was to become a RN, right? That was like one of my long-term goals. You know, I really wanted to do that because I always felt like I was just for the position. I love to learn. I love to learn, but when you're put in a position to where you don't know where you or your kids' next meal gonna come over a period of time, then it's kind of hard to learn too. But it's only by the grace of God and myself, that I've been able to suffice. I've had to go without a lot. And again, people don't think, I guess I wear it pretty well. Like literally, this is what I experience. Um, Judgment. It's just judgment. And so I started coming online telling my story, and then I got discouraged because I was made fun of, all that. The internet is kind of tricky. And so, but then a part of me, like my inner me, said, "No, baby, you go back and tell your story. You have a very unique story, right? I've never found nobody like me. Like I've never found nobody like me. Like when I tell my life story, this is just one. But when I tell my life story, right, God truly had a plan for me when He started making me. You know what I'm saying? I used to have this one saying that said, when God created me, He said, He, it's not a he or she, but He said, this shall be fun. And I honestly feel like that because Lord have mercy, life has been. But yeah, I'm here to be able to have that, get my personality back. I dealt with depression, like deep. I'm on high medication, right? And antidepressants, right? And so just within this probably last 8 to 10 months is I started being able to get back to myself, right? Because I had a hard time. Like I had a hard time. And I felt like nobody was listening to me. I felt like I wasn't being heard. I felt like these companies, these billion-dollar companies, insurance company, right? They can do whatever they like to people, and it's just delay, deny, and keep on going while their business keep rolling in. And while on the other hand, families are being destroyed. Families are being destroyed. And so I went through the whole thing of, oh, you're just waiting on welfare. Like, it's people can be so, but what people don't realize is that it's SSI and SSDI, right? So SSDI is what you have to have work credits, right? It's not something that is given to you. You have to earn it, right? This is what they take out of our, oh Lord, this is what they take out of our checks, right? Every month, every time we get paid, right? Social Security is what I'm speaking about. That tax. And so when I needed it, right? When I needed it, I was expecting it, right? I didn't call on it. And that's another thing. I didn't go to Social Security immediately, right? It was actually 2.5 years after the injury that I went and applied for Social Security because Workman's Comp said, well, ma'am, because they wasn't paying me financially, they're only liable for my medical treatment at this point, and they sorry at that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just gonna keep it real. But like real sorry, very minimum. And so but workers comp financially wasn't paying me, and so they told me, well, if you need, because I'm like, well, why I hadn't been gotten back to work? I need to go to work. I need some income coming in, right? I did have, like, before this happened, right? This is how like, I wasn't because I had a great credit score, right? I mean, this is just what it is. Again, I'm just speaking my experience. But I did. I had a great credit score. I had money saved, right? Because I was in about to try to find me a house or buy me a house, right? That was one of my goals. And so I had the 401, I had all that, right? And so over the years, I've had to pull from everything, right? I've depleted, I've burnt up credit cards, I've, everything to try to stay above water. But it has been definitely a situation. I know at this point, I'm just trying to again get I'm a try. I am to be more consistent. I say that because I've said that before. But sometimes I just, the weight of the world, like even today, it was just hard. I didn't want to come on, but I'm like, well, you said you was coming on, and so I did want to kind of fulfill that part. But it has been a journey to say the least, but I am very grateful now. Even with that judgment being that judgment, like my leg right now, I can't even feel it. I'm gonna have to get up. But even with that judgment, the courts are still so backed up that I still have to go back through the ALJ, right? That process. And it's been 7 months now, and I've been told that it could be up to a year before they can get me back in court. Even when the judge overturned, reversed, you know what I'm saying, the decision, I still gotta wait a year? Like, the laws, the laws, again, I don't want to cry, you know what I'm saying? Because when I think about it, it's horrible, When I think about it, it is horrible. But I'm going to read just some of because we're still here. I just want to read that a few sentences from the judge. We won't go all the way to the back. It was 16-page judgment. But yeah, let's see. I think it started at 12. Let's go all the way here because this is the part that I want to read. Right. Where the judge made it very clear as to what it was. Okay. So 10. Okay. One more. Okay, right here. It says on January the 2nd, 2020, the company completed a functional capacity assessment, right? Among other opinions through that company, estimated that the plaintiff could sit, right? Because it did come down to how I could sit. And that's another thing I want to say, right? People don't understand when you're when you're going up for disability, right? Don't let them tell you that it's a certain look, right? Although judges do that, right? It's a way to deny the claim, right? And a lot of people don't go for it. But it's just a way to deny the claim. But it came down to the sitting, as for me, right? I've had a nerve conductive test. I have chronic permanent nerve damage as well with the neuropathy, right? From the pressure that comes from this whole ordeal, right? The nerve pressure. And so it came down to kind of basically that, that weighed a lot on the decision, right? It said that the plaintiff could sit frequently, 34 to 66%. They do go on an 8-hour an 8 hour, not an hour. Like, you can't, that was another thing. Like, people say, well, she look okay to me, she's sitting there, right? In order to go to work, when you go to work, you don't go to work for an hour, you go to work for 8 hours, right? So you have to be able to do your job 7.5 hours, right? With the break, the lunch break or whatever, without any special things set out for you that everybody else wouldn't get. And so, of an 8 hour workday, right? It says he further noted that sitting is painful. This is the company, the facility that did my residual functional capacity test, right? He further noted that sitting is painful for the plaintiff. His opinion discusses the plaintiff's ability to perform physical demands, right? Work activities such as sitting, and a physical therapist. And as a physical therapist, Dr. McComb is a licensed healthcare worker, right? Yeah, and so he did not take that into account. We're going to skip on down. Okay, we're going to skip on down just a little bit. It says, but as ALJ did not mention or assess this opinion, despite it being listed as evidence in the ALJ's written opinion appendix, right? Accordingly, it is unclear if the ALJ intentionally disregarded this opinion, and if so, the reason for doing so. And so it goes into that. If I go back to the last page, because I really don't want to read all that, but okay, it says, but a remand is only warranted, however, right? Because again, the judge is only able to make a decision as to what they see in front of them. Remand is only warranted, however, if the ALJ error was harmful, right? The plaintiff must show that the ALJ error was prejudicial. Yeah. Stated differently, harmless error exists when it is inconceivable that a different administration conclusion would have been reached absent the error. Plaintiff has met her burden of showing harmful error. And then, the judge goes on to about 3 more pages, right, of going into, all that. But another reason why, again, because it was purposely done, right? And I don't know, again, I don't know how else to say it. Because it was purposely done, which was 3 years ago, right? I've had to endure so much. And you guys, I'm telling you, I've had to endure so much. I've had to put up with people's stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, and sometimes, like, I'm learning that people will treat you people treat you different when they feel like you need them, just, in a simpler way. People treat you different, you know what I'm saying? I experienced that. I'll never forget how I was treated, throughout the whole ordeal. It was just horrible. But yes, again, I know that other people are experiencing this, and so that's kind of where my story will be going. I want to someday be able to establish. This is why my page is called Pain into Passion TV as well. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of where I got that name from. I've made a few posts and videos on here, right? Speaking about my experience and all that. But again, I stopped. I knew I was going through that process, so I really wanted to wait till we got through with the whole litigations and all that. Because again, had the judge said that they were going to affirm the decision, then I would have had to accept that too, right? And they do have the opportunity, the Social Security Administration has the opportunity to appeal, right? They did not appeal, which of course, why would you? But they, so it was just, I don't know, have anybody else had issues with, their experience and everything with filing for Social Security? Whew. And things like that. Yeah, I don't know how much longer I'm gonna be able to. I might have to put this down. But I was sitting here on my computer. But yeah, oh Jesus, I did this. Oh shoot. But yeah, as you can see, I'm a talker. You know what I'm saying? Like my issue is here, but yeah, that's part of after I came out of the darkest time of my life. And I'm proud of that. You know what I'm saying? I feel like I had to go through that. I'm just glad that I somehow, by His grace and mercy, I came up out of it, right? Because I don't ever want anybody to have to, but we see it every day. And so, yeah, it's so much. So I said, well, I had to kind of change my mindset up, think different, figure out how, because just because this injury is here and the surgery, which is why the insurance company keep on denying me, the surgery itself, it costs over $100,000, which, yeah, that's a problem. I mean, like, again, I'm still dealing with workman's comp, Sedgwick. I'm still dealing with them. Like, I'm not gonna let them up off the hook neither. You know what I'm saying? Because they are still having to manage my medical. Like I said, which they halfway do that. I've been paying for my own medication, which is supposed to be paid for by them. You can't get in touch with your adjuster. It's like, that's what I'm saying, y'all. It's the worst. I just want people to understand that, when we go out here and work for these companies, right, understand that there's a lot that come with it. Understand that, set yourself up in a way that you could, I don't even know how I could have did anything greater than this, because I've sufficed, and that's with going without a lot this whole time or whatever. But I've made it. You know what I'm saying? I'm still like a foot in. Every month I have to worry about how I'm gonna make my rent and things like that. I didn't just stop there. I tried to start a home business, right? That didn't work out too well because of the pain, right? So I, again, just bending, it's just begin. And as the years go by, the pain gets worse, right? And so, yeah. So, like I said, I just had to change up my mindset, right? Trust the process, which is what I did to the best of my ability, and utilize what I have, and not really too much focus on what I don't have. Meaning, I think I'm a very great motivational speaker for others. I've always given, good advice. I always keep people around me motivated, encouraged, and things like that. I do miss my job, though. I do. I miss my residents and all that. And it's just different. It's just different. But yeah, you guys, I've been on here for 44 minutes, and I don't know how much longer I can it. See, I even have like this pillow, and this is not even beginning to hit the spot. It's not. But yeah, thank you guys for coming on with me. This is not, I do want to start being more consistent, right? I need to be able to get my name, my page, you know what I'm saying, out there. So if you guys could please share the video, because unfortunately we are living in a social media world, right, where everything is social media. And I say that because I'm not a social media person, but again, as I lay in that bed and cry, you know, and do all this, I'm like, you have to do something to help yourself, right? And when you literally can't utilize other, you have to, you know, and so this is where I'm at, you know, this is where I'm at. I'm not gonna get discouraged this time. I'm gonna try to stay at it. I am gonna stay. I wonder if my headphones was I wonder if my, because I did not, I forgot about that. So I wonder if the volume, if that's what they were saying. Lord, please don't tell me I don't make this whole video. But yeah, hopefully not. Grab the camera. Yeah, because that's what it says. But yeah. So I'm gonna be on. I'm gonna do a live again. I'm gonna have to keep on with this story for a few until, you know, it starts to generate the views, and to be able to switch over to another topic and things like that. Plus, it helps me to um, just have something to do. You know, again, because it's. That's disturbing. It's disturbing. But yeah, thank you guys for coming on, staying with me. If you didn't, you can rewind back to the story or whatever. And yeah, if you want to leave some encouraging words, or if you have any questions or anything like that, feel free to leave me a comment or anything like that. And yeah, I will catch you guys on the next video. Bye.